Hi everyone, Heather here with astrologywithheather.com, and I am back with another weekly forecast. And this one is for Monday, June 10th, all the way through to Sunday, June 16th of 2019. And we have a big week in the astrology, you guys. Oh my goodness, this is one of the most intense energies that we're going to have in 2019. And this, is coming right before eclipse season, which is another variation of some intense energy that's going to be coming up for us. But I honestly think this week might be a little bit more intense. And, intense doesn't always mean negative. Intense just means intense. There's going to be some very strong energy coming up, and it's going to be affecting everybody a little bit differently. But in general, this is going to be an activation of the eclipse points through the nodes, with Mars in a conjunction with the North Node, opposing Saturn, Pluto, and the South Node, which have been lingering in sort of a conjunction, not an exact conjunction anymore, but very, very close for quite some time. And so this is going to be some very powerful, very intense energy, but it's also being offset by some more gentle energy with a trine between Mars and Neptune, Neptune sextiling Saturn and Pluto. And so actually, let me pull up the chart so we can talk about this a little bit, because this is sort of a crazy configuration here, because we have a kite formation that is going to be coming up on the 14th, which is the exact day that Mars on the 13th will come into an exact conjunction with the North Node. The North Node is a calculation for the eclipse points, and we have eclipses coming up in just a couple of weeks here. On July 2nd, we'll have a total solar eclipse in the sign of Cancer, which is going to be a very powerful energy for very fated karmic new beginnings in a lot of people's lives. And this Mars energy this week is going to trigger us to want to jump into something new, to want to move forward with something. It's sort of this now or never energy where we're going to feel obsessed with wanting to move in a certain direction. However, if we haven't been working on releasing, deconstructing, letting go of whatever has been, whatever we've been called to let go of and deconstruct in terms of oppressive, burdensome, challenging energy in the Capricorn area of our lives, which of course we'll get into this more specifically when we go through all 12 signs. But if we haven't been doing the work, if we haven't been putting in the legwork to create a foundation for ourselves in order to move forward, in order to move in this new direction, if we haven't been clearing away the old, stuck, stagnant, oppressive energy, if we've been holding on to things mostly due to fear or, this energy around uncertainty, because if we deconstruct this area of our lives that's very stable and very structured, what's going to come in its place, right? So there's a lot of fear-based energy going on in this Capricorn area that we're going to be dealing with on and off throughout the year. And this is another one of those trigger points. And if we haven't been dealing with it, then this is going to be a little bit harder, because it's going to be an energy of really wanting to push forward with something and coming up against blockages and challenges. It's like pushing up against a wall. Even though there's this really intense pull toward moving in a new direction that a lot of people are going to be feeling. And it could come about in ways that are very fated, very karmic, sort of this predestined, synchronistic energy that can come on very quickly, very intensely. But when we move into it, again, it's like hurry up and wait, right? It's like this energy of like jumping into something and then coming up against opposition or coming up against some sort of structure or restriction or limitation that's trying to slow us down, when all we really want to do is push forward. And so, there is a balance that needs to be struck here between doing things the right way and doing things the fast way, between harnessing the energy that really is propelling us into a new beginning and making sure that we're taking our time and doing things right. And so there is going to be that different energy going on there. This is also coming into that Mars conjunction of Mercury, which will be coming exact next week, at the start of next week, which we'll get into a little bit more in next week's forecast. There's already enough going on this week that we need to cover before we get into that. But the Mercury energy is still part of this configuration with the kite formation that's going on in the skies right now, as you can see in the chart that I have pulled up. And so this kite formation is a very strong configuration that has an association based on Lynn Coyner's research, and I found this to be true in people's charts if they have a kite formation in their chart, or in terms of the grand scheme of things, or by transit if a kite formation occurs. it does have an association with crisis, and the opposition becomes much more of a prominent focus with these kite formations, as opposed to the trines and sextiles, which you can actually focus on and lean on in order to alleviate some of the pressure. If you are feeling a lot of pressure, if this is hitting you really specifically in your chart much more harshly than it might be hitting other people, you're also going to be getting that benefit of the grand trine and this little sextile going on here. So the positive aspects of the kite are going to help to alleviate some of the pressure. And so this is an area that we can lean on a little bit. But, you know, the pressure is going to be building between this Mercury North Node Mars conjunction in the sign of Cancer, which has to do with like the common person, right? And so we're looking at the common folk versus in traditional astrology, you know, the moon, and Cancer rules just the common person, the common man. And if you're looking, this is for mundane astrology, and if you're looking at the sun is more like authority figures and leadership and all of that. But when we're looking at this in terms of our current paradigm, you know, we have Saturn, Pluto, and Capricorn. Capricorn is corporations, hierarchies, structures, the government in its form right now. And so this could really build up into like a big crisis or some sort of culmination point this week that involves potentially a conflict between the common man and these corporate hierarchies or government hierarchies, this oppressive energy that's really bearing down right now in all areas. I mean, we just heard that they're doing a purge on YouTube. They're, you know, saying that it's going to be to remove people who are you know, racist or white supremacist or whatever. But then if you look at these articles that are describing what they're doing, they're lumping in 9/11 truthers, conspiracy theorists, people who are outspoken about vaccines or alternative healing modalities into this category with the white supremacists and with the racists. And so we're seeing a lot of really oppressive energy where there's censorship that is coming in that is very broad and overreaching when it comes to these corporate-owned social media sorts of entities, because Google owns, you know, YouTube, and Google is one of the biggest companies in the world right now. And so we're seeing the corporations really bear down and really double up on the oppression, the censorship, the rules and regulations. And I really do feel like this is going to be an energy where people are going to be really speaking out about that or opposing it or fighting back in a lot of different ways. And so that could get really heated. And this could even apply to governments. This could apply to a lot of different things. This energy this week feels very important. The other thing that's going on is that the Jupiter-Neptune square is coming exact at the very same time. So Jupiter-Neptune square is coming exact on Saturday of next week. It's a very long, broad sort of energy that's been going on throughout all of 2019. It started in 2018, and it's going to continue throughout the year. And it comes exact this week at the same time that we have this really crazy energy. And if you remember back in October, Robert Phoenix and I started talking about how this is going to really make the vaccine thing sort of explode. It's going to become a bigger thing. It totally happened already. So we could see a lot around that. We could see a lot around issues involving religion and spirituality and religious institutions and entities. That could come up right now as well. Issues involving doctors, hospitals, medicine, that type of thing. But so that's kind of the broad general energy. I'm not a mundane astrologer. You know, I dabble and things like that, so I don't want to go too far into it. So that's kind of the energy that we're feeling this week on a more broad scale, but even on an individual level, the pressure's on. It could be, you know, us really facing up against any oppressive forces in our lives. This could be us deciding it's now or never, we need to leave this oppressive relationship, but there's something blocking us, right? Maybe it's like legality and custody issues or something like that, or maybe it's you know, maybe we don't feel like we can do it on our own, and there's like that structure that we have to decompose and really let go of, that's oppressing us and preventing us from feeling comfortable and confident in branching out on our own. This could be the same sort of energy with a career path. This could be the same type of energy with a family situation or a situation with our friendships, or even on a mental plane. This could be an energy where there's this really oppressive energy on one end where we have these very dogmatic, rigid viewpoints about something, and we're branching out into something new. And it can feel a little bit scary to leave behind our old ideals, our old moral and ethical value systems, our old beliefs that frame this reality, because it's kind of like an existential crisis for some people, and we'll get into that too. However, there's this really intense pull, like we need to do something this week. It needs to happen. And so there's a lot of energy this week around change. There's a lot of energy this week around potential for crisis, but there's also a really beautiful energy with this grand trine that's forming on Thursday, which is the exact day that Mars, in conjunction with the North Node, comes into an exact opposition with Saturn, which is currently retrograde in the sign of Capricorn. And Mars-Saturn oppositions, are pretty straightforward in terms of the interpretation. As I mentioned before, it's like an energy where you want to move forward and you really want to push, and especially with the North Node there, the North Node can make us obsessed with taking action, obsessed with, this energy. And also taking action in defense of our loved ones, that's going to be something that's more of a predominant energy as well. So in defense of the people that we care about, as opposed to defending ourselves. Or it could be us wanting to sort of sidestep the energy of forward momentum and initiation, because that is a Cancerian energy with Mars. Mars in Cancer tends to approach things indirectly rather than directly. And, that's okay, because that's the energy we're working with, as long as you're still facing things, and as long as you're working toward letting go of any oppressive energy that you need to release in order to make this all happen and come to fruition, whatever it is that you're moving toward and moving into right now. So a lot of people are going through this process of change, and it's like you want to move forward. Maybe you feel like you can't be direct with somebody about something. Maybe you want to fight for a cause, or fight on behalf of somebody that you care about, but you don't feel like it's your place to just jump in and do things directly. Maybe you're not asserting yourself in a straightforward way, and you need to approach things more indirectly, or kind of move around the situation in certain ways in order to get that forward momentum going. So there's a lot of things that this could really come across as. Also a lot of passive aggressive energy. That's just a general theme with Mars in the sign of Cancer. Anger being expressed indirectly through, passive aggressive types of language and behaviors and things like that. That could become, especially with language, because we have this Mars conjunction to Mercury. I think there's going to be a lot of emotionally charged, very intense conversation going on in the sign of Cancer. And that, I think, can play out in the media as well as in our personal lives. And so it could get a little heated. There could be some dispute going on this week on a personal level and on more of a global level. And there could be a little bit of a crisis. But as I was mentioning before, or as I was starting to get into, on Thursday, which is the day before this opposition between Mars and Saturn comes exact, we have Mars coming into a trine with Neptune, and a grand trine forms almost at the exact moment that the opposition between Saturn and Mars comes exact on Thursday. And this is where we find solace. This is where we find a little bit of reprieve, where we can deal with the energy a little bit more effectively. And this is in the water signs. And so what do the water signs represent? They represent emotion. They represent intuition. They represent more the unseen realms and going with the flow, and less of a logical, linear energy, and more of a creative, fluid energy, more of a nurturing energy, more of an empathic energy. And so if we lean toward those themes and those areas of our lives, we're going to be able to navigate the intensity a lot more easily. And so relying on your intuition, spending time in contemplation, figuring out how you feel about something before you take action, or before you let go of something and deconstruct, or before you face, a crisis or some difficulty or some really intense energy, relying on intuition, your intuitive capabilities, really focusing on what feels good to you as you're moving through these processes, that's going to be very helpful. And thinking intuitively and in making decisions intuitively and moving forward intuitively, especially with this energy being in Cancer with the North Node and Mars as part of this Grand Trine configuration, that's going to be the way to go for a lot of people. Again, this is, a general thing that I'm talking about here. Every single person is going to have a little bit of a different energy going on beyond just even these 12 signs in this forecast, because everybody has their own chart configurations and different things going on, not just transit-wise, but there are other, there are other energies at play when we do an astrology reading. But in general, one of the best ways to approach this is going to be more intuitively, more creatively, more compassionately, more empathically, and also putting yourself in somebody else's shoes and really trying to assess how they're feeling or where they're coming from, instead of just reacting and trying to push up against this opposition. That's going to be a better way of approaching this and dealing with this as well. So, using your intuitive, empathic, compassionate capabilities and thinking creatively and moving through this based on your intuition and based on these energies that are maybe not so logical, as opposed to the logical linear mind. So even if something doesn't make sense rationally, you might be onto something if you intuit something, if you feel like something is right, or if you feel like this decision is the right way to go. That might actually be a better gauge for what you need to do and how you need to do it. So hopefully that makes sense. And this is an energy that's not just lasting this week, although it's very intense this week. This is an energy that's going to be lasting for a couple of weeks, and then it's also going to be highlighted in different ways throughout the eclipse season, which happens in July. And so this is an eclipse activation that's going to be very intense, and it's going to be the initiatory energy into eclipse season. So this could be a time where we initiate action that's very fated, very karmic, that comes to a head in ways that we might not expect during the eclipse cycles, especially if we're going to be hit really hard by the eclipses for certain people with certain degrees and certain signs. And in terms of what's going on this week, the people that are going to be hit the hardest are going to be, in terms of like the intensity, are going to be the ones who have a lot of energy in the cardinal signs, especially anywhere between, I would say, 15 to 22 degrees, because Pluto still is 23 degrees, let's say, so 15 to 23 degrees in the cardinal signs, which are Capricorn, Aries, Cancer, and Libra. And so if you have planets around those areas, you've already been experiencing a lot of intensity, or if you have your ascendant, your sun, your moon, or any of your personal planets there, you've already started to experience this because we've had this activation going on for a couple of months. There was a little bit of a lull where, yeah, the energy was happening, but it wasn't being triggered as heavily, or it was being triggered in a more positive way. This week it's coming to a head. It's like things are going to happen. And the tension that's been building, this is sort of a point of release for that, especially emotional tension. And so that's really what we're dealing with there. In terms of people who are going to feel this more positively, that's going to be with the water signs. And so you're going to have Pisces, Cancer, although Cancer is going to have a lot of intensity. So Cancer is one of those where it's going to be really intense, but Cancer does have an outlet through this Grand Trine that's forming in the water signs, a little bit more so than Capricorn, although there's sextiles there, it's not as strong. So, Cancer does have a little bit of an outlet. You guys are going to be hit pretty hard during the eclipse season. And I talked about this in my Cancer solar return forecast, my free video that I did. It's like 10-15 minutes long, and I have an extended version of that for all Cancer sun signs, because this is specific to your sun. That's available in the description down below on my website. It's about 2 hours long, and it includes PDF files that help you to really hone in on more specific interpretations, dates, times, information, and all of that, so you can get the most out of what is actually a more general forecast, but it's as specific as it's going to get. But anyway, so you can find that down in the description below. For Cancers, this is going to be a big year for you guys. So definitely check that out. And this week is going to be a big week for you guys, but you do have a little bit of an outlet through the Grand Trine. So that is where you'll find solace. The other water signs are going to have more of an easier time, I would say. Pisces does have that energy with Jupiter in square as well, which we'll get into. That Jupiter energy with Neptune is an energy where while all of this is going on, there's an energy around deception, around idealism, around wearing rose-colored glasses in the situations that are occurring in our lives right now. And that's going to be especially true for Sagittarius and Pisces, but I mean, there are a lot of different signs that are going to be hit by this. And that's been going on really all year, but it's really coming to a head right now. And so it's a predominant energy. So we could see something going on globally that involves a lot of really intensity, a lot of oppression and opposition between the common man and the corporatocracy, and a lot of energy around deception and disillusionment that could be occurring around this time as well. So, you know, it's a ripe energy for some sort of event to occur. I'm not saying that some sort of event will occur, but it is, you know, an energy that's going to be playing out for a couple of weeks where things are kind of weird. It's a weird energy. You know, if something seems too good to be true, it might actually be too good to be true. But this is also an energy where we can cultivate a more optimistic, idealistic mindset in the midst of crisis, if that's something that we're dealing with right now. So it does help us to remain uplifted and feeling good about what's going on in our lives. We can see the bigger picture. We can visualize a better future for ourselves. Even if there's a lot of work to do in the moment, it can help us to sort of step outside of that, which sometimes is needed. As long as we're not escaping into this fantasy realm, you know, we can utilize this energy to tap into a higher mindset, to tap into a broader perspective, to look at what we idealistically, what we truly desire and want when it comes to the bigger picture and how to get to that point. And so that is, you know, it's kind of a mixed bag there with that energy. It can be being a little bit indulgent, really going off into la la land, disconnecting, and like depersonalization, like where we're completely disconnecting ourselves from what's going on. That type of energy can be there too. So there is a danger of kind of going too far and really being out of touch with reality for certain people. But, you know, for the most part, I think with a lot of the heavier energy going on, that this could actually be kind of a nicer little reprieve from that. So hopefully that makes sense what I'm saying so far. And so I am going to get into the forecast now for all 12 signs. And before I do that, I do want to make a couple of quick announcements. I am offering a new webinar series called Mastering the Outer Planets. It started with Mastering Saturn. So if you already took the Mastering Saturn webinar, you will already have received a special link from me, so you're not paying for that webinar twice. So you get a little bit of a discount. For everyone else, the whole series, it's Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. It's going to be going on through the start of next year, and it's only $69 if you order now. It's going to go up after my next webinar, which is Mastering Uranus. And if you want to take the Mastering Uranus webinar separately, you can do that, only $19. It's 30% off until the webinar, which is live on August 17th. And so this is going to be really in-depth about all the outer planets, how they show up in your chart, and the cycles with the planets, and especially transits with the outer planets as we're getting into the farther and farther planets. So it's going to help you to navigate the energy of these planets as they're being activated throughout your life. And the link, again, is down in the description below. And for those who are born Aries through Cancer for your sun sign forecast for the year ahead is now available. The link to purchase it is down in the description below. Most of these forecasts are over 2 hours long, and they include additional supplemental information to help you get the most out of these general forecasts and make them much more specific so you can get timing of actual events that can occur in your life throughout the year. And so that is available down in the description below. And if you're not an Aries through Cancer, you can pre-order your forecast for your sign. Again, down in the description below. And of course, as always, if you want to book a reading with me, I know things are getting a little dicey out there, and people tend to book more readings when the astrology is kind of crazy. I'm more than happy to help you get a more personalized interpretation and understanding of what's going on in your life, and you can always book a reading with me. The link is down in the description below. And so after that rather lengthy announcement, in a lengthy video, right? It's proportionate, I would say, to what this video is going to turn out to be, because it's almost 30 minutes in and we've only gone through the general description, because it's like a crazy week, right? So I want to make sure that I even commented on Facebook, because I was looking at this yesterday and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to make this video concise. But there's so much stuff happening. And everyone's like, make it 3 hours long. I would love to do that if I had the time and energy to sit here for several hours talking about astrology. But I'm going to try to keep it concise for those of you who just want, a more abbreviated version without neglecting to give you guys the full explanation of what's going on here. So it's going to be a little bit longer than it normally is. I usually try to keep it an hour or less, and we'll see. We'll see how that goes. It's an important week. It's kickstarting eclipse season. It's kickstarting a lot of crazy energy. So let's start with the forecast, as always, for Aries and for Aries rising. This opposition is occurring in your 10th and in your 4th house. And so this could be an energy this week where you're really wanting to move forward with something that feels very karmic, very fated. You feel very pulled. It's like a now or never energy when it comes to issues related to the family, issues related to your home, your property, your place of living, where you want to jump forward into something new. Or there could be some sort of disruption or dispute amongst your family that you really want to get in on, but there's something preventing you from doing that. It could also be that, you want to focus on these immediate, more pressing circumstances in your family or in your home or in your property situation, but there's something going on the outside in your career that is really heavy and burdensome, and maybe there's an oppressive energy there from an oppressive entity in that area of your life that is not allowing you to address what needs to be addressed at your roots, right? So what's going on behind the scenes is going to feel really important this week, but there's also this energy where you have all these responsibilities, all these burdens that are coming in and weighing on you from the outside that might be hindering your ability to take action or to deal with this conflict or to deal with this important communication or contract coming in your home and your family life. And so there's a push and pull there. There's a need to let go of some of that oppressive energy. If it's preventing you from taking care of your personal needs behind the scenes, there's a need to look at that, and there's a need to deconstruct some of that and to maybe stand up for yourself a little bit. And this could also be you needing to stand up for yourself when it comes to your family. And, again, maybe feeling a little burdened like you can't do that for some reason because maybe there's an authority figure even in your family dynamic that is preventing you from speaking your mind or addressing these issues fully and completely. But there is a really nice energy going on with this grand trine here. So this is a great week, especially for Aries rising, to spend time in solitude, in seclusion, to spend time away from the world and the busyness of everyday life because you're being pulled away from that. And especially on Thursday, if you take some time to just reflect and maybe journal, do some meditation, spend time away from the busyness of day-to-day life. If you can, take a personal day if you need to, spend some time after work, out in nature, by yourself. You can get a really big intuitive hit that can help you to deal with this energy. And it might not make sense logically, but it'll be a more creative way of adapting and dealing with the situation at hand if this is something really intense for you. And if you're an Aries rising, anywhere from really 15 to 25 degrees in the sign of Aries, you're going to be feeling this really like a lot of pressure. You're going to feel very frustrated. You're going to feel personally, potentially a little bit attacked or challenged or burdened in some sort of way. And you're going to feel this push and pull between, again, wanting to move really intensely forward into something new, but this challenge of this oppressive energy or this burden or this responsibility, or at the very least a delay, right? This energy saying that you can't just jump in and do this all crazy. You have to take your time and do it right. That is going to be part of the situation as well. And so because you're going to be having a T-square to your rising sign or to your sun or to your moon, if that's what you're listening for, it's going to feel, with the two malefic planets too, Saturn and Mars, it's going to feel heavy, it's going to feel intense, it's going to feel kind of like you're in a cage and you want to break free and you can't quite get there yet. So, there is a need to take your time and to do things the right way and not jump in all impulsively. However, there's also a need to take action, at least small, measured action to move out of the energy that's really restricting you and limiting you in some sort of way. And then that grand trine energy, like I mentioned before, that does bring in a little bit of a nicer energy. So spending time by yourself, away from everyone is going to be a good way to take a break if you are feeling like you have this heaviness, and it's going to help you to really see things from a different perspective, which is what Jupiter and Neptune, also leaning on your spiritual practices and your religious, philosophical value systems and beliefs, and really focusing on your connection with God, the universe, something higher, if that's something that you feel good about. That's going to be another way to sort of bring yourself out of the situation and to see things from a bigger picture and a broader perspective. So, that's what's going on for Aries and for Aries rising. All right, and for Taurus rising, this energy for you is not quite as heavy as for some of the other signs, which is, a nice thing, because you're having this opposition here between Mars, Mercury, the North Node, the South Node, Saturn, Pluto, this really intense configuration that's on this sort of axis of Cancer and Capricorn. It's actually trining and sextiling your ascendant and descendant, and so that's not going to be as intense of an energy. If anything, you're going to be going through potentially a philosophical crisis or some sort of existential crisis of belief, where you want to move into studying or learning about something new or communicating something in a new way. You might have some really intense, really rapid fire communication coming in this week, but on the opposite end, you might be able to sort of step away and do some work when it comes to your philosophical values and belief systems. Maybe let go of dogmatic, restrictive, limiting religious or spiritual beliefs or philosophical beliefs that are preventing you from moving forward in a new direction when it comes to a field of study or an important conversation or an important decision that you're trying to come to, that maybe you're feeling blocked because it's not in alignment with what you thought to be true when it comes to your sort of your overarching belief systems about life. This could also be a lot of energy and tension around education, around travel and travel plans. I would say that if you are going to travel this week, proceed with caution. It's not necessarily dangerous, but there could be conflicts and delays and difficulties there that you might be struggling with. This could bring complications and difficulties with teachers, but this could also be a really great time to branch out and to learn something new. And again, break free from those dogmatic sorts of mindsets around things. The energy with this grand trine is happening in your communication houses. And so, leaning on others, branching out and connecting with your community, connecting with your friends, connecting with, especially on Thursday, like into the weekend, connecting with somebody that you love and you care about and you really trust in a one-on-one situation. That's going to be a way where you're going to be able to get some feedback, to understand things a little bit better and to feel some relief. And then you also have this really nice energy in the 11th house. I would say for Taurus in particular, spending time with your social networks, networking, for business or something like that, spending time with groups of people, with friends in particular, people that you surround yourself with because you enjoy surrounding yourself with them. That's going to be the best way to mitigate this energy if you're feeling like it's a little intense. But for Taurus, it's not quite as intense. This is actually going to change your belief system in a way that allows you to act more in alignment with who you truly are and what you came here to do. All right, and then for Gemini and for Gemini rising, this energy is happening in your 2nd and your 8th house. And so this could be a really intense energy around finances and financial situations, work-related situations, power struggles and control issues around finances could come up for you right now. And so this is a time when money's going to be on your mind and it's going to be a focal point. There could be a lot of difficult conversations that you might need to have around financial issues, especially in partnership with others. It could be that you really want to move forward with a new financial endeavor, be it a job or an investment opportunity or something that's like a major purchase that you want to move forward with this week, and it feels like you have to do it now. It's now or never. You have to sign that contract. You need to make that deal. You need to buy that thing. But there's some sort of oppressive energy coming from the 8th house, which is the house of other people's money. So it could be that your partner doesn't agree with the way that you want to utilize your resources or the career path that you're moving into. It could be that your partner, maybe their resources are cut off or they're cutting off their resources from you. It could be that you have some debt or some taxes that are unpaid or something going on in terms of inheritance or joint finances that you have to let go of in order to move forward with creating something new of your own volition when it comes to financial situations. And this is a precursor. So you moving forward, you breaking free, having those difficult conversations, maybe arguing about it a little bit with your partner, that's going to be a precursor to you actually moving forward with something that's very fated and very synchronistic when it comes to you creating resources of your own volition coming into eclipse season next month. So it's important that you break free from this bondage that's going on there. And especially control issues around resources, that's going to be, or fears around loss of resources could be coming up for you. If you don't have any of these other sorts of issues, there could be a lot of fears around money that could come up this week for you, and maybe spending money or investing money or something along those lines. And it could be a combination of all of that. But this is a really good week where if you do move forward with something, if you do follow that fated path, follow the signs and synchronicities, use your gut instincts to sort of guide you in the right direction when it comes to financial matters. This could be actually a week where you make some good career moves. And, you know, those moves come about more intuitively than rationally. So you think about it at an intuitive level, or you contemplate it more on an intuitive level, or you initiate some sort of creative endeavor or spiritual endeavor when it comes to your work this week. And, you know, that could actually provide a little bit of relief financially. So if you are having some financial issues, looking at creative ways of solving it or intuiting ways of solving it, that can actually be very helpful in, you know, repressing that energy, or not repressing, but mitigating that energy in some way. And then this is a really good week where you might have some high hopes for some sort of work-related collaboration, connection, maybe even a connection with a new client that seems really important. And it could be important, and really good things could come out of it, but it might not meet your full expectations. So just be aware of that. It doesn't mean that something bad will happen from it. Something good will happen. It might not just be as grandiose as you might believe it to be, if that is the case for you. All right. And then for Cancer and for Cancer rising, let's get you up here, Cancer. All right, for Cancer and for Cancer rising. So this energy is happening in your first and in your seventh house. And so this is an energy where there's a really intense need to move forward with something new, or it feels like there's an intense need to move forward with something new that is in service of your own identity, that's in service of you and what you truly feel like you need, want, desire in life, moving forward in a new direction in life that is more appropriate for what you want, what you need, and focusing a little bit less on other people's needs and what they want, and, you know, caring for other people in your life. But there's a responsibility there that you need to take care of first. And so it could be that you need to work on removing oppressive structures and energies related to relationships or contractual agreements in your life in order to move forward and focus on you. This is also an energy where there has to be a balance. You could really go head first into arguing your points and doing what you want to do because you want to do it, and neglecting the needs of other people, alienating yourself from other people in a way that could be difficult. And, you know, there's also this energy where you could be kind of selfish right now with the North Node transiting your ascendant. You're obsessed with yourself. You're obsessed with your own needs. You're obsessed with what you want and what's best for you. And that is to the detriment of your relationships. And that's okay to a certain extent, because that's something that you need right now. You need to find a better balance. There's something that you definitely need to let go of in the area of relationships, or there's something you need to restructure and transform in the area of relationships before moving forward with something new. But you can't completely neglect your relationships right now and your responsibilities to your relationships and the agreements that you have made in that area of life. You can't completely neglect that right now. So it's like you're wanting to move forward. You're like, I'm going to jump into this new venture. It really is good for me, and it's now or never. And you're pushing up against the wall. Maybe your partner says, no, that I don't want you to do that. Maybe you're in some sort of business contract where they won't let you out of it and you can't do it yet. Or maybe you need to completely purge a relationship in order to move forward, if that's the case. But you can't do it in a way where you're just letting it go and creating a mess for that person. You have to live up to your end of the responsibility first, and that's where the blockage comes in for Cancer rising people in particular. So there's a need to create balance between your needs and the needs of other people, but you're going to feel very strongly toward wanting to do what you want to do because you want to do it right now. And this could also be an energy where there's a lot of passive-aggressive energy directed toward you, or you're acting and reacting to situations very passive-aggressively. And so, you want to be mindful of that, because this is an energy where you can really alienate people that you're really close with. And there is a need to let go of certain relationships, but the relationships that are really solid, really loyal, really stable, really long-lasting, that you want to hold on to because they're going to be there for you, they're going to stand the test of time. You don't want to do something that's going to alienate you from those good relationships, and there is a potential there, especially with the passive-aggressive energy. So just be aware for Cancer and Cancer rising. Where you can find some relief is by doing things that bring you joy. Going out and having an adventure, maybe traveling and distancing yourself from the situation, going on some sort of spiritual quest or retreat. That could be a really great way to gain a sense of perspective on the situation at hand. You also might have some sort of inflated ideas or beliefs about something that you're doing related to health or related to your daily routines or related to your work, where you think things are going to be this big, beautiful, grand experience, and it doesn't mean that they're not going to be great. It just means that there's a potential here that you might be thinking a little too idealistically. You're not saying things realistically. You don't have a real plan. And so things might not work out exactly as you believe that they will. They're not going to be bad for you when it comes to your work or your health or your daily routines. Jupiter doesn't bring things necessarily that are like awful. It usually does bring benefits. But in square, it can bring inflated ideas about what it is that you're accomplishing. And so it is important this week to keep your feet on solid ground in that respect, just so you don't end up feeling disappointed. But the energy in general, if you are feeling really intense, especially around relationships, which you might be, if you're a Cancer, Sun, Moon, rising, anywhere from 15 to 25 degrees, you're going to be feeling this really intensely. And so spending time doing things that bring you joy, spending time engaging romantically in those partnerships that you want to keep, that would be a really good thing that you could do, or going out and having an adventure, going out and having some sort of spiritual experience away from your immediate environment. That's going to be a really good way for you to mitigate this energy, or to explore different forms of spirituality and spiritual belief systems, and really dive into that this week and see how that aligns or changes what you value and what you believe in terms of the grand scheme of things. And for Cancers, by the way, your solar return forecast is now available. You're also going to be having eclipse activations coming up this year too, like actual eclipses for a lot of Cancer people. So it's definitely going to be a big year for you guys. So this is you've already been experiencing a lot of this energy, but this is the first little burst of the eclipse energy that's going to be coming exact next month. All right. And then for Leo and for Leo rising, this opposition is occurring in your 12th and in your 6th house. This could be a time where you really want to move forward with something that involves your spiritual practice, your creativity. Maybe you just want to go out and be alone, but you have all of these responsibilities, all of these things that are weighing you down when it comes to your day-to-day activities, your day-to-day burdens, your day-to-day struggles, when it comes to your work, when it comes to your routines, when it comes to your health, and you need to break free from anything that's oppressive in that area. You're really going to be feeling pulled to move away from day-to-day normal life and to just spend a little bit of time by yourself. This is also a time where you could have some sort of gossip or hidden enemies or something like that that could be working against you. It might seem in the moment that this is a bad thing, but it's helping to pull you in a new direction and pull you out of this really burdensome, oppressive energy when it comes to your day-to-day experience. And so you might not see the full picture yet because the eclipses haven't happened, and this is triggering the eclipse points. Up until the eclipses happen, it's kind of like you're a little bit blind to something and you don't really know why things are happening or how they're going to play out. And this is triggering some of that energy. So it might be an energy where you're having to deal with some sort of gossip or somebody who's working against you behind the scenes, because you have Mars in a conjunction with Mercury, in a conjunction with the North Node, in the 12th house of hidden enemies. And so, that could definitely be a thing, and that might be something you have to deal with. Or it could be somebody working against you that you're not even fully aware of, but you can sense that there's something going on behind the scenes. It could be something that could be a little intense for you. The best use of this energy, though, is to create a better balance between being really busy and working really, really hard and being so intensely focused on what you're doing in your day-to-day life, in your daily habits and routines. Like, you can be stuck in a rut in that area where it's too structured and you're doing the same thing day in and day out, and that in itself can feel like a huge burden. This is where you're moving out of that, right? So you're moving into the 12th house, which is focusing more on your spiritual well-being, your subconscious reality. And so there's a need to strike a balance. So maybe taking a little bit of time out, but not going too far, because you can't completely neglect your responsibilities right now. So if you try to just completely blow everything off, Saturn and Pluto are going to come in and say, no, you need to take care of your responsibilities. Otherwise, you're going to create a big mess. But you can, create a balance. So spend a little bit of time focusing on yourself and your own needs. And this is a great week, by the way, for you in particular, Leo and Leo rising, to spend time at home, to spend time in solitude, contemplation, seclusion, to focus on your own inner needs, your emotional understanding of yourself, to dive a little bit deeper, to figure out who you are and what you came here to do and what you desire, and to focus on that, to focus on your family, to focus on your own health, your own healing, your own psychological well-being too. So this could be a time where you could go through a really intense healing process as well, especially on a spiritual level. So you could go through some sort of spiritual crisis that leads to a transformation when it comes to your own healing from past trauma and fears and, deep-seated wounds and insecurities, with this grand trine happening in your 4th and your 8th house, as well as your 12th. This is a time where past and present life experience sort of converge for you. So you might have a lot of strange synchronistic events that feel very familiar, or odd in some sort of way to you, that come up this week. And it's because you're kind of working on rebalancing the karma from a previous life experience, with this energy that's occurring right now. And then when it comes to this Jupiter-Neptune square, there might be something financially or involving joint finances, inheritance, debt, taxes, other people's money that you might be wanting to work with, that might be a little bit too good to be true, or a romantic situation where there's a lot of intimacy and passion and adventure and excitement that, again, might be a little bit too good to be true. It doesn't mean that it's not going to be good. It just means that it's not going to maybe live up to your full expectations of what you're seeing here with this person or with this situation. All right. And then for Virgo and for Virgo rising. All right, so this is happening in your 11th and your 5th house. And so this is a week where there could be some sort of conflict between your romantic life and your social circle, your social networks. Maybe you're dating somebody and your friends are like, why are you with this person? And there's a conflict or some sort of disagreement that leads to an argument or a fight or a dispute amongst your social circle, involving your romantic partnerships or some sort of love affair that you're involved in. This could also be an energy where you want to go out and you want to have fun and you want to spend more time engaging with your networks, meeting new people, connecting with friends, and you have this burden, limitation, restriction around children that's preventing you from doing that. So maybe you have a responsibility to your child, a responsibility to, show up. Maybe your situation as a parent feels more repressive and oppressive and burdensome, like you feel the weight of the responsibility in that area much more so. So you have to neglect your social plans and the growth in that area in order to take care of what's going on with your children. This could also be an energy where what's good for the group isn't necessarily the same as what's being demanded of you when it comes to your own creative self-expression, your passions, your creativity out in the world, which can feel quite limited and heavy and difficult right now. Romance can feel like a lot more work. It can feel oppressive and burdensome with this energy in your chart. And so this could be a great time to break free from that, maybe to let go of an oppressive romantic situation in favor of just branching out and meeting new people and spending more time with the group, spending more time socializing. These are all things that could come about this week. And this is a great week for socializing and connecting with people. You have this grand trine forming in your 11th, your 7th, and your 3rd house. It's a great time for intuitive, very nurturing, very loving and communication, very creative, spiritual forms of communication where you're connecting with people on a deeper level. These are all things that can come about this week. And so spending time focusing on your social networks, focusing on your connections with others, even in a romantic sense, these can all be ways to alleviate some of the pressure and mitigate some of the difficult energy going on with the opposition. The other thing that is happening is that Neptune is still in square with Jupiter. You might be a little delusional or wearing some rose-colored glasses when it comes to an important relationship in your life, especially an important one-on-one connection, marriage partnership, something along those lines, or an important connection with a family member, because this is in your 4th house too, or something related to the home and family and an important love relationship. So if you live with your partner, this could be applicable. Or maybe you want to live with your partner and you have these big dreams and you realize that your partner doesn't want that. These are all things that could come about this week, and these are just examples. For every person, it's going to be a little bit different. But for Virgos, Sun, Moon, and especially rising around 18 degrees, so anywhere from 16 to 20 degrees in that sign of Virgo, you're gonna be feeling really optimistic about something, and it might not be clear yet, but later on down the line, it might lead to disappointment. So just make sure that you're being very realistic in all of your interactions, in terms of one-on-one interactions, contracts, and especially relationships this week. All right. And then for Libra and for Libra rising, so we're halfway through here. This energy with the opposition is happening in your 10th house of career and your 4th house of the home and family. There might be something that you really want to push forward with when it comes to your career path. And it might feel very exciting. You might feel obsessed with it. There might be some challenge or some conflict or some dispute coming up this week. Arguments around your career or your business, or arguments with people in positions of power and authority because you really feel like you've got to do it, and maybe you're acting passive aggressively toward people in order to get your way. Really, that could be part of it too. And there could be a conflict where you want to move forward with something in your career path, but you have obligations at home that are preventing you from doing that. So you have obligations toward your family, you have obligations toward your living situation or your home situation. Maybe if you move forward with this, it's going to be uncertain how you're going to pay your rent or your mortgage or something like that. But there's this really intense need to push forward with something, to jump into something new when it comes to your career path and when it comes to your public status or your position in your workplace or your relationship with people in positions of power and authority in your workplace, or all of the above. But this is a great week where you can actually make some headway in your career. You can make some headway when it comes to creating better, more fluid, more comfortable daily routines with your work. This is a time where if you engage in your intuition and in your creative potential in your career, that you can actually create better, more resources for yourself. You can create better flow and harmony with your coworkers and in your workspace. And this could even be something that could improve your health because it's alleviating some tension and getting rid of some of that oppressive energy that might be very stressful when it comes to your home environment and your immediate family. And so this is a week where you could have some positive potential and some gains when it comes to your career. So, it's not all bad here. And but there could be, so if you're a Libra rising though, and you have your sun, moon, rising sign anywhere from 15 to 25 degrees in the sign of Libra, you're going to be feeling the pressure more personally. And so it could even be like a strain on your body and on your physical energy this week, where you're feeling like you need to push forward with something, but you don't have the energy to do it. Or maybe, you get sick a little bit. I'm not saying anyone's going to get seriously ill or anything, but maybe you're feeling depleted. You're feeling like your energy isn't there. You're feeling like you're pushing up against the wall when it comes to just energetically getting things done, or your physical body is saying, no, that's enough, you're pushing too hard. And so it could be a push and a pull between wanting to move forward, but needing to respect your body or your energy and the way that you're feeling about something. And there is this energy where you're going to feel kind of like you're caged up this week, like you really want to move forward with something, and it's very, very tense and intense. And there are blockages there. You have too much responsibility and you feel like you can't quite get there. And so, that could be part of the energy for Libra, but there is a lot of potential for good energy in your career path. There might be something that you have maybe some big ideas about when it comes to communication, or a new idea, or a teaching endeavor, or something along those lines, or a marketing campaign related to work, or some important communication with coworkers where they tell you something, or an important work-related communication in general where you're told something and you believe it and it ends up being a little too good to be true. So be aware of that, but that you can really think idealistically and think more expansively about your career path and what you want, especially on a day-to-day level moving forward. And it can help you to get a sense of perspective on what's going on with this sort of struggle and this more complicated energy there. All right, and then Scorpio. For Scorpio and Scorpio rising, this is an energy that's not going to be quite as intense for you guys, because we have this happening in your 3rd and 9th house, and just as with Taurus, this is going to be occurring in a trine and in a sextile with your ascendant and your descendant. And so this could actually be a really powerful week where you adjust something involving your beliefs about anything, really. You could be really feeling very passionate about moving forward with a new area of study, with a new sort of endeavor involving teaching or education, and you could be really pushing forward, but you need to really set the groundwork and set the stage for that. So if you're pushing too hard or moving too fast, Saturn's going to show you, hey, you're not ready for this yet. You need to slow down, you need to do things the right way, you need to set up a good foundation for yourself first, and then move forward. And so, you know, if you're really engaged in a certain area of study, if you're really engaged in something involving education, it's a matter of setting up a really solid foundation for yourself first, and then moving forward with this new endeavor. And you can make some headway. It can feel like, I need to jump in, I need to do this right now. And as long as you've been doing the work and deconstructing the old values and beliefs and your old ways of thinking in order to create space for you to learn something new or to engage in this new project, then there's energy there. There could also be a lot of energy around wanting to travel and feeling like your day-to-day, like text messages, phone calls, communication, things that are going on in your immediate environment are more important, or they're oppressive or restricted or limiting you in some sort of way from branching out and from exploring the world and from getting out there and learning through experience, from connecting with other cultures or other places and locations. And so there could be issues with travel plans and delays with travel plans that come up for you this week, or a conflict involving travel plans that you might feel very, like you might feel like it's weighing on you. And so that's part of what's going on here. So it could be you have a lot of responsibilities in your immediate environment, in your community, and you feel like you can't get out there. And this is also going to be, again, a challenge to your beliefs. So it's more about letting go of the day-to-day mindset of like, I can't do this, you know, I have a negative mindset around this, I'm not good enough, you know, I'm not worthy enough, I'm not talented enough to branch out and do what I need to do. So the day-to-day routine self-talk, or the way that you address people in communication on a day-to-day level, can prove to be problematic in some way. And so you might need to look at your communication style and let go of something there, or your ideas or your beliefs around something. Or there could be some conflict or some disruption or some sort of heavy oppressive energy within your community or your extended family that prevents you from moving forward with something, or that you need to let go of and release and purge in order to move forward with something new when it comes to your belief systems or an educational pursuit or a travel pursuit as well. And so that's part of what's going on here. There's this really nice grand trine going on though. And so if you're a Scorpio, sun, moon, rising, again, anywhere from 15 to 25 degrees, this grand trine is going to be hitting you. And that's actually going to, and like I said before, this energy with Cancer and this new beginning that you're initiating when it comes to higher education, when it comes to exploring new belief systems about God, the universe, the world around you, when it comes to exploring new belief systems in general, it's really going to propel you forward into connecting with who you truly are out in the world and forming better relationships and connections with people moving forward based on based on your integrity and based on you connecting with your beliefs and you acting in alignment with your beliefs. So that's going to be part of this energy too. And this is a really great energy this week for indulging in adventure, indulging in exploration on a mental plane, indulging in things that you love to do because you love to do them, your hobbies, your interests, your passions. You might have some high expectations for something when it comes to finances that are overinflated. It could be good or bad. You might have an overinflated sense of how much something might cost, and maybe it's not going to cost quite that much. Or maybe you have an overinflated expectation for what you can pay for, and you overindulge and you spend too much money on things that you love and that you're passionate about, and you're not able to pay the bills because of that. So be careful, because this is a week where you can overindulge in material pleasures, especially on a financial level, or you can have expectations that are really high for money coming in, and you think that you're going to be able to use it for something that you really enjoy, and it doesn't quite work out that way. And so you might not actually see that it's not working out that way until a little bit later on. And so, yeah, just be aware of that. Be grounded in your use of money this week. That's good news or good advice for myself too, being a Scorpio rising. Okay. And then for Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising, there is this energy that is bringing some sort of conflict or difficulty for you related to finance this week. And so there's a need to let go of some old, oppressive, restrictive, limiting energy around your beliefs around money, around the way that you create resources, around something that's preventing you from having the financial freedom that you truly desire. And so, that energy is going to be bogging you down a little bit. There's a desire with this energy, with Mercury and Mars in the North Node, to invest in something that is going to create more freedom for yourself, maybe, or to pay off some debts, or to move forward with some sort of, financial endeavor. But you have some burdens, you have some restrictions. Maybe you don't have the money, maybe you need to save money, maybe you have financial obligations that you need to take care of before you can jump in to whatever it is that you want to jump into financially. This could also be you moving forward into a new direction when it comes to joint finances. You might find that your partner makes more money, or maybe it starts to make more money this week, or an investment pays off, a really quick investment that has a quick turnaround. And so if you're letting go of those old beliefs around resources, maybe you feel like you have to carry the whole burden of making money for your partner and for your family, and maybe, that turns out not to be the case, or maybe you feel like you have to pay for something really important that you're responsible for, and that turns out not to be the case. So this could actually be positive in a lot of different ways. But there could be conflict, and there could be power struggles and difficulties around resources this week where they need to be addressed, and you need to really look at that. And this is a week where you might want to move forward with an important investment, or paying off a debt, or dealing with something financially. Or maybe this is a week where you move forward with something really important involving inheritance, or other people's money, or something along those lines. But your budget is preventing you from doing that. So maybe you want to do something involving life insurance. And you don't have the budget for it, or something like that, or you need to be responsible and sort of tone it down. And so those are potentials, right? There's a lot of potential there. If you are feeling the burden, and if you are feeling this push and pull and a lot of tension around money and the way that you create resources this week, a really great way to mitigate that energy is going to be to spend time and just in solitude, seclusion, spend time in rest and reprieve, spend time with your family, spend time at home. This is a great time to take a step back and just decompress and not focus so much on what's going on in your financial realm. Maybe your partner's going to handle it. Maybe money's going to come in from the outside. Maybe something is going to be initiated that's going to bring in some additional resources for you from somewhere outside of your own hard work. You're not going to be able to see that, though, unless you take a step back, unless you spend time focusing on your own emotional needs, focusing on your spiritual practices, focusing on your creativity, and allowing your intuition to guide you when it comes to financial matters this week. And for you in particular, there might be something that you have really high expectations for, especially involving your home, your property, your family. And it doesn't mean that it's not going to turn out. Definitely good things will happen there, but you just might have some grandiose ideas about what you're creating. And, that could be part of the configuration and part of the story as well. So, just be aware of that and try to be realistic when it comes to plans involving your home and your property or family matters this week. And then for Capricorn and Capricorn rising. So this energy is happening in your first and in your seventh house. And so this is a week where there's going to be some struggle and conflict potentially involving relationships. This could be you wanting to move into a new direction in a relationship, or faded new partnerships and friendships or romantic relationships even coming into play this week. But you have your own personal baggage that you need to deal with before you move into engaging with these contracts. And so it could feel like you want to move forward with something like a contractual agreement, or signing some sort of contract, or a business partnership, or a new relationship, or a new friendship. But you have all of this burden weighing on you, and you're afraid to do it because this oppressive energy that is just very limiting and very restricting, that's weighing on you personally, is preventing you from fully engaging and moving forward in the way that you feel like you need to. It feels like you got to move forward. It's like now or never. Let's do this. But at the same time, there's like this energy where it's like, you know, you got to do this first. You have to take care of your responsibilities. You have a family. You have a home, a mortgage. You have this. You have that. You know, so you have a lot weighing on you right now, where you might not feel as comfortable making the commitment, signing the contract, connecting with this person as you otherwise would. So you need to let go of a lot of those personal restrictions, burdens, responsibilities, and a lot of that's based on conditioning. This is a huge energy for letting go of societal conditioning for all Capricorn rising people, because you're having your Saturn first house transit, you're having Pluto involved in that in the South Node. So anything that you're holding on to when it comes to your identity that's not you, that's based on what society tells you need to be, you need to let go of that. And that's going to be part of this energy this week too. If that's what's holding you back from engaging in that commitment, engaging in that relationship, doing what you need to do for your partner even, that could be part of it too. There could be a conflict with your partner where you're arguing with your husband or wife or boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, and it could be because you feel like things need to be a certain way, and it might not necessarily be that way. It could just be what you've been told, or what's been conditioned into you from childhood and from observing your surroundings or from the media or whatever it is. This is a time of purging old conditioning and trusting that these partnerships are leading you in the right direction, that these contracts and commitments are leading you in the right direction, even if they're leading you away from an identity that you are really holding on to for dear life. So this is an important week for Capricorns in particular. Purging the old you, moving into something that's going to be more in alignment with what you need in partnership with somebody else, or moving into a partnership or collaboration that's really important in your life right now. And if you're feeling overwhelmed, this is a great week for you to just enjoy time with friends, your social networks, communicate with your partner in a very beautiful, intuitive, compassionate, empathic way, because you're going to feel more open to doing that. And if there is a dispute, put yourself in their shoes, right? Really approach it empathically, approach it more intuitively. Really try to feel how they're feeling if there is some dispute with partnerships in this coming week. But this is a great week for you, especially at the end of this week on Thursday, if you're feeling really, really heavy, like, this is crazy, what am I doing? You know, there's so much burden and limitation and restriction, and I'm having all these conflicts. Go out with friends, right? Spend time with your community. That's going to be the best way to deal with this energy, and it's going to be very effective in helping you to take a step back and to approach things more intuitively and more in flow. And then the energy with Jupiter and Neptune in the square, you know, there could be some communication where things seem too good to be true, and they might actually be that coming this week, but it's not anything too crazy. This is a good week for, you know, creative contemplation, creative thinking, and finding creative solutions to your problems. All right. And then for Aquarius and Aquarius rising, this energy is happening. Let's turn this here. This energy is happening in your 12th and in your 6th house, and so this might be a busy week for you. You know, with Aquarius, there's a lot of energy where you've been sort of letting go of anything that's old and past its expiration date. It's a time of purging. You're in sort of an end phase of a cycle right now with Saturn in your 12th house, where there's a lot of endings and a lot of letting go, and you might be spending more time in solitude and in seclusion, either by choice or by necessity during this time period. And this is a time this week where you might be pulled out into the world again. You might be pulled out into doing something new in your daily habits and routines. You might have to address some sort of health issue. You might have to address some sort of conflict at work. You might need to move forward with a new project at work. You might be feeling like you can't just jump into it directly, so you might approach it more indirectly, or there might be some passive-aggressive energy at work that you need to really engage with and you need to deal with and address in some sort of way. But this is a week where you're going to be pulled out of this area of seclusion and contemplation, and you're going to be much busier, and there's going to be a lot of communication around your work or around your health, and a lot to do on a day-to-day basis, so you're not going to be quite as secluded and contemplative as you have been in the past. And this is a great week for you to move forward with something involving your work. You have this grand trine happening in your 10th house of career, your 2nd house of finance, your 6th house of work and daily routine. So you're moving into a faded new direction when it comes to your work and your work habits. And this is going to benefit you when it comes to your public status and reputation. This is going to benefit you when it comes to your financial well-being, but you're going to have to approach it intuitively rather than logically. And so it logically might not make sense exactly what you're doing, but it feels right. And so that's how you're going to know that you're moving in the right direction career-wise. And leaning on your career and focusing on work is going to be a good way to alleviate some of the pressure and some of the burden that you're feeling. There is a need to let go of a lot when it comes to your past life experience, when it comes to past connections. This is a wrapping up phase, like I mentioned before, so there's a lot of purging and a lot of letting go of restrictive, burdensome energy in your life. But, and if it feels too heavy this week, leaning on your work and spending more time focusing on what's going on in a more practical sense is going to be a good way to just feel a little bit better. When it comes to a group situation, you have Jupiter in the square of Pisces. There might be some sort of networking event or something like that, or something that you're engaging with in a group setting that you have high expectations for, and maybe you have high financial expectations for the outcome. And it doesn't mean that it's not going to turn out well. It probably will. It just might not meet your big grandiose vision of what you think it's going to be. So just be aware of that too. All right, and then finally, Pisces and Pisces rising. So this energy here with Pisces is happening in your 11th and your 5th house. And so there's an energy here wanting to move into a new direction when it comes to things that you love to do, connecting with your passions, connecting with your creativity, connecting with your children even. That could be part of it too, or connecting with play, having children if that's something you've been thinking about. Engaging with that childlike energy in general could be a major theme this week. But there's a conflict. It could be that you want to do something new that you're really passionate about, that's really exciting for you, that you're really amped up for, but your friends and your social networks are holding you back because they're judging you, or you feel like you have obligations to a group of people, or maybe what you want is not necessarily what's best for the group in your mind. You might need to let go of these group expectations for what it is that you're doing, or connection to a certain group of people, which is something you've already been working on, is letting go and purging these relationships, especially with groups and especially with friendships, that are not good for you, that are restrictive and limiting and oppressive in some sort of way, or judgmental, and caring less about what other people think about what you're doing is going to be very important this week, because this week you're here to initiate something that allows you to engage with your passions and your creativity and the things that you love to do because you love to do them. And it doesn't matter what other people think about that. You do have a certain obligation to the group where you don't want to completely do something that's going to destroy, all of your friendships, especially the solid ones. So there is a balance there, and you might have some sort of responsibility or group obligation this week that might be preventing you from going to that art class, or spending time with your children, or whatever it is that you really want to be doing this week. And you might have to uphold some of those obligations, or work very slowly on purging them and deconstructing that area. Maybe you're a leader of a group and that's preventing you from focusing on your own passions and the things you love. So, there does need to be a little bit of balance. You can't just purge everything and make a big mess, because that's just not going to work very well for you. But this week is a really good week to do things because you love to do them. Find your joy. Do what sparks joy, that Marie Kondo thing. And focus on your beliefs, your values. Learn something new. Go on an adventure. Spend time focusing on your spiritual practices. Do something creative to spark that creativity, to spark that joy, to engage in your passions, but to do so very creatively and very intuitively. So let your intuition guide you in the right direction. Let your intuition guide you on an adventure this week, or to a new area of spiritual practice or study. That's really going to help you to gain a sense of perspective and to engage more actively in your passions and your hobbies and your creativity and the things that you do because you enjoy them, because they help you to experience pleasure. This could also be you moving into a new romantic pursuit that your friends are very opposed to. And so if that is the case for you, just be aware that they might have a point. You don't want to completely neglect that area, but don't, let your friends' opinions of what you're doing completely hold you back from moving in a new direction romantically, or from engaging in a passionate love affair. If that's something that you feel driven toward, and maybe it's part of your path, maybe you need to experience, maybe they're right about it and it's not going to end well for you, but maybe this is part of your journey and it's something that you need to engage with. So following your gut instincts, following your intuition, that's going to be the way to judge, and that's what's going to help guide you through this process. All right, guys. So that is the forecast for all 12 signs. I feel like we didn't run too long, so that's pretty good. I was concerned it was going to be like 2.5 hours long or something. All right, so it is a busy week. We had some, really calm or relatively calm astrology. We were starting to feel the past couple of weeks this energy building, and it's here now. So, embrace it, do something with it, because we have to actively engage with it with Mars being involved. But, don't neglect your responsibilities completely. Make sure you're not making a mess for other people, and enjoy, the intuitive and creative potential of this energy. Because that's actually the best part of it, is this really nice grand trine, this really nice energy around just connecting more compassionately with people and our environment, and sparking that creativity. So I hope that you found this helpful. If you have any questions, or if you want to let me know how you're doing, feel free to comment down below. I do try to read and comment back to as many people as possible. You'll see that, at least I hit the little heart button so you know that I read your comments, because I really like hearing from you guys. So definitely do that. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, you can always click that little red button. You'll see all of my weekly forecasts, and I'm doing I have a lot of tutorials that I'm going to be working on with the North Node transiting my 9th house. I'm going to be teaching more things to you guys, so make sure that you are subscribed so you get the notifications. And I will see you guys all next week. Thank you so much. Bye.